my god, it's so bright. No, it's such good light.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For anyone that's new here, my name's Claire and Joli is here in spirit, but will not be participating today because she is flat out. This is my second attempt at filming this video. I tried filming it earlier and it was just too bright. I thought I'd sit in here at a table for once instead of being crouched on the floor and be a bit more professional, but the light hurt my eyes, so I had to stop, and now the light is going rapidly, so fingers crossed we get through it this time. Today we're going to be talking about Monstera Deliciosa plants. I'm going to take you through all their kind of general care needs, requirements, and then also go through some tips and tricks for faster and fuller growth. Before we begin, if you find this video useful, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. So Monstera Deliciosa plants are one of the most popular houseplants simply because they're so gorgeous, but also they're really low maintenance, they're a great starter plant, and they're really adaptable to most home environments. Oh my god, the sun's coming back. Oh no. I've already made a video about variegated Monstera care. Their care needs are actually fairly similar, except I would say these ones, normal Monstera Deliciosa, are actually slightly easier, and they're also slightly, well, a lot cheaper to buy as well. When it comes to light, these ones enjoy what's known as bright indirect light, which basically just means an area that receives lots of natural daylight, but not too much direct, harsh sun. For example, I'm filming in the evening, this is evening sun, so that's fairly gentle, that would be fine for them. Same as morning sun, but harsh midday sun can actually cause their leaves to burn. I know a lot of people often think that putting your plants in kind of bright sunlight is going to make it grow faster, but a lot of the time, if that's not what your plant likes, it's actually going to do them a lot more harm than good. It can even end up stunting their growth. In order for your plants to grow full and evenly and not be kind of a bit lopsided or growing towards the light in one direction, then it's really, really important to turn them on a regular basis. I tend to turn mine every couple of weeks, or whenever I start to notice her lean a little bit, then I'll just kind of give her a little spin. It's also really, really important that your plant's leaves are kept clean, just because dust and dirt and stuff like that can stop them absorbing all of the light that they need to. So what I'll do is I'll usually just take either a damp sponge or a microfiber cloth and just give all of the leaves a really good wipe down. I try to do this every couple of weeks. I've said this in most of my plant care videos before, but it's really, really important to monitor the soil instead of sticking to a strict watering schedule. This is just because the same plant in different environments is going to require different amounts of water. So for example, through here in a really bright room that's quite humid and quite warm, she would need to be watered more than if she was in a different place that's quite dark, colder. Their watering needs would be completely different. So yeah, just monitor the soil and go off that. Just to reiterate that as well, when I was in my old place, I used to water her probably about once a week, and that kind of worked quite well. And now where I am and where she's placed, I only need to water her about every 2 weeks. Overwatering is hands down the biggest killer in these plants, just because if you give your plant lots of water when it's not ready to be watered again yet, then it can cause something called root rot, which basically causes the roots to start rotting, and that can mean that your plant's leaves will turn yellow, they'll fall off, they'll wilt, and eventually, if you don't treat it pretty quickly, your plant can actually die. So underwatering is always better than overwatering. I've talked before about ways that you can treat and fix root rots if you do think you've overwatered, so I will link the video to that down below. I'm actually going to wait 10 minutes for the sun to go down and then carry on with this because I can't see where I'm looking at the camera. Let's try again. So fertilizing your plant is something that's really, really important to do over what's known as the growing season, which is the spring and summer months, just because it helps to support the growth of your plant and encourage new growth. Fertilizing basically just helps to provide your plant with a steady balance of nutrients that it might not always be getting enough of from the soil. If you continue to fertilize over the winter months, it's a lot of the time going to do your plants a lot more harm than good. It basically just is going to give them nutrients that they don't need at that time because they're not growing as quickly. So it can send them into shock, it can stunt their growth, and it can cause something called fertilizer burn, which basically just looks like big brown, yellow, black spots going across the leaves. It doesn't look nice. I made a video recently all about some zero waste DIY fertilizers that you can make yourself at home. It's a really, really great shout making your own fertilizer. I do it all the time just because obviously besides the fact that it's sustainable, it also saves you money. So I will link that above and in the description box below as well. Temperature wise, these ones are pretty flexible about what they can and can't cope with. It's kind of recommended that you keep them at around 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, but I know for a fact that over the years mine's been in much lower conditions than that and she's never complained. Most houseplants will enjoy a steady temperature, which basically just means it's not constantly fluctuating up and down too much. And along with that, most houseplants, including Monsteras, really don't enjoy cold drafts. So just make sure you don't place your plant right next to an air vent or a drafty door or window. When it comes to humidity, these ones prefer it to be slightly higher than average. They're tropical plants, so it kind of goes without saying they prefer more of a tropical home environment. The recommended humidity level for Monstera Deliciosa is around about 60 to 80%, which can be kind of standard for some homes, but they will always appreciate a bit extra. I've got a humidifier that I run, which helps to keep all my humidity-loving tropical plants happy. But there are also some cheaper alternatives if you can't invest in a humidifier. You can just leave your clothes out in your house to air dry a lot. You can leave cups of boiling water, pots of boiling water around your house. Or you can also use a pebble tray, which is basically a tray filled with pebbles and water, and you sit your plants on top of it and the water just evaporates around your plant. Misting your plant, contrary to what a lot of people believe, is actually not a great way to raise the humidity for your plants. For a short period of time it can help, but once the water's evaporated, which happens fairly quickly, it won't have actually raised the humidity in the room by much, if at all. Misting does, however, help to keep the leaves clean and conditioned and is also a really great way at helping to prevent pests. Thrips and spider mites tend to be the ones that affect Monsteras the most, so just make sure you're regularly checking your plants. If you don't notice any obvious leaf abnormalities, you tend to notice pests first on the underside of your plant's leaves, so I always just make sure to really, really carefully check them for any signs. Tiny bugs, areas of discoloration, areas of webbing, almost like spider's webbing, and stickiness tend to be the first sign of pests. I've spoken about this more in another video, so I'll pop that in the description box below. Some general tips for a healthy, full, vibrant Monstera Deliciosa are firstly to give them a moss pole to climb. Without anything to climb, as they get bigger, they tend to become quite lopsided, meaning you kind of have to tie them back, and also they're a lot more prone to breakage. Using a moss pole that's made of something such as sphagnum moss or coconut coir can actually help your plant to stay healthy and nourished because it can provide them with essential micronutrients that they absorb through their aerial roots. Aerial roots are the roots that you see growing out of the stems of your Monstera that aren't rooted in the soil. For this reason, it's also a really good idea to either mist or dampen your moss pole whenever you water your plants, just because it helps the aerial roots to form stronger bonds with the moss pole in order to climb, as well as absorbing all of the goodness. If your Monstera is growing quite slowly and isn't as full as you'd like it to be, a really great trick is just to kind of prune back some of the smaller growth at the bottom of the plant. If you see some of those tiny little baby leaves, like this one that I just trimmed off my big one, then pruning them back actually allows the main body of your plants to keep its energy kind of conserved in that, instead of wasting energy on trying to support new little growth that's never going to be as big and full as this. A question I get asked a lot, especially from people that have new little baby Monsteras, is how to make their leaves start to split. When a Monstera is very young, these splits, also known as fenestration, that a Monstera is so well known for, might not have developed yet. This is partly due to the genetics of the plant, but similarly to my last point, something you can do to encourage your plant to start splitting, is again pruning back that new growth to allow the main bit of the plant to focus its energy on that. Monsteras like to be repotted whenever they start to get root bound. Repotting them allows them to grow to their full potential, and keeping them in a pot that's too small for too long can actually stunt their growth. When you do repot your Monstera, it's really important to use the right soil mix. Different houseplants will require different things from the soil, so it's really important to just do your research before you use just anything. If you repot your Monstera just using kind of bog standard houseplant potting soil, it'll probably do okay, but considering it likes good moisture retention in the soil, good drainage, and also prefers a slightly more acidic soil, there are some things you can add to help with this. By adding some leftover coffee grounds to your potting soil, as well as stuff like perlite, coconut coir for water retention, it basically just creates a really nice, nutritious environment for your plants to flourish. I also like to add in some grit, orchid bark mix, and sometimes some crushed eggshells as well, just to help with drainage as well as incorporating a few more healthy minerals. I personally really enjoy mixing up soils for my plants, but if you think it's too much effort or you don't have the time, then you can also buy ready mixed Monstera soil. So to summarise, the most important things for a fast growing, healthy, strong Monstera Deliciosa are bright and direct light, to only water when the top few inches of soil are dry, keep the leaves clean and dust free, crank up the humidity, they will always appreciate more, fertilise regularly during the growing season, repot whenever the plant starts to become root bound, and trim back smaller new growth towards the bottom of the plant. I think that's pretty much everything. I really hope you found this video useful. If you've got any questions or comments or anything like that, then let me know down below and I will get back to you. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.